In life, you don't attract what you want. You attract who you're being.
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward together with the Decker team.
We've enjoyed over 30 years of coming alongside you, of growing not only real estate wisdom and portfolios, buying and selling, investing, also helping people develop the relationships, develop their faith, develop their fun, and develop their finances to a higher level. 30 years of helping you build your business, your life, and your home.
You know what I found, Jenna? Is sometimes I attract what I want, but then I'm like a magician.
It vanishes?
It disappears.
Wow.
The people leave me. What's that about?
Well, it's interesting because on this episode, what you're going to learn a little bit about, what we're going to chat a little bit about, we're going to probably learn as well is why is it that sometimes we attract into our life amazing relationships, whether in business or whether in love relationships or whether in friendship relationships, and then they do go poof and like vanish.
Yeah. So help me out. Why does that happen?
Well, I think it's a little bit like, and if you're listening on the radio, you won't see this, but if you are live.
That's a beautiful mask.
Right. I have this gorgeous mask. It's gorgeous, right? Like it's really very, very beautiful. And sometimes.
Actually, your blue eyes show up really nice.
They do. You can still see my blue eyes.
Yes.
And the interesting thing is it's not one of these COVID masks because I got those hanging around too because now you can't see me
if you wear
at all.
both, then I have no clue who you are. And
No
your red
clue.
stripe in your hair doesn't give you away at all.
Well, it does. And yet what can sometimes happen is we're wearing a mask that we're not even really aware we're wearing. So I think what you're talking about is sometimes we've got what's maybe called the imposter syndrome. So we don't recognize we're being an imposter. It's not a conscious thought.
I get it. So you're saying like when I go on the first date or the first few dates, I'm on my best behavior.
Right. And or even meeting a new friend, you're thinking, you're not even consciously thinking, because I don't necessarily consciously think.
Do you think I want to impress somebody?
Yeah, you want to impress somebody. We want to be good friends with the people we're meeting because I think you're really cool and I think you're really nice. And so I want to show up the best version of myself. And yet if that's not sustainable, if that is not intentionally put on, because I don't think very many people intentionally put on what they're not. And I don't think you do either. I know you well enough. When you get
comfortable, you let your guard down a little bit.
Right.
Some of those inner nastinesses come out.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. So we were talking about this before we got on air, and you had an insight that was actually kind of hard for you to embrace around business in particular.
Yeah.
And I think it would be appropriate because it's hard for you to see yourself in this unless we open it up a little bit by sharing the odd or occasional, and it is an odd story, the occasional story, double play on word there, occasional story about how it showed up in our life. Because maybe this showed up in your life. We have a tendency not to see ourselves the way we are, but the way we want to be seen.
And when you have a really good friend, sometimes they'll tell you how you're really showing up.
Mm-hmm. Or your
Shine the mirror on you.
Right. Or your employees.
Yeah. So what happened for me was actually two-sided. It's a two-sided coin. I want to talk about both sides of the coin. The one side of the coin is my personality is a little bit of shyness, some introvert, and and you might be thinking, how can he be so funny on CHRI when he's introverted and whatever? Yeah, but when I'm getting to know a new person or I don't know anybody at a party or I don't know anybody in a business situation, I'm very quiet, I'm contemplative, and I can be seen as cold and aloof. And sometimes relationships don't happen, whether it's business relationships or friend relationships, because the first impression I give off is icy, chilly, cold.
Yep.
Thanks.
I've heard it.
Yeah, don't
sugarcoat it. You know what? We're usually.
I was hoping for a little more encouragement than yep.
Yeah. Well, people around us already know, so it's not like it's a secret. So I might as well be direct.
Yes.
But that's not necessarily what got you in the most trouble.
Oh, well, that's the other side of the coin.
Mm-hmm.
The other side of the coin is I really wanted to be a team player. I wanted to grow a big company, build a great team.
And that's that's what your heart desire was. Your passion, your
right. But how I was behaving was from a childhood thing where at the age of 7.
Oh, we don't go there.
Oh, yes, we can go there. At the age of 7, this is like therapy on the radio. This is great. My parents bought a resort. And they started working 16 hours a week, serving and
a day,
cleaning.
Not a week.
No, sorry, that'd be correct. 16 hours a week would be pretty easy.
Awesome.
Right?
And in the winter, it was like that.
Yes.
And
in the winter, they
summer,
didn't work at all. I got a lot of them, but in those sort of 8 months, they worked 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
I didn't see them, and so I learned independence. I learned to cook for myself. I learned to fend for myself.
You learned to work really good. You were a great chambermaid. You worked at the concession stand.
Thank you very much.
I got you a chambermaid. That's more fun. You cut grass. You were a fish guide. You were a water skier dude.
Yeah.
Like you did all kinds of stuff, right?
I did all kinds of things.
That's actually made you a very valuable human being to me.
Yeah, because I can make a bed.
Yeah.
And clean a toilet.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But that independence actually chased away great team members because they came on to support me in the dream.
And support themselves and develop the dream for themselves as well as with you and for you.
Yes. And so I had to
Shared vision.
I had to learn not to be so independent, not always to give my idea. My idea is the best.
It's not.
It's my idea of the highway, right? You know, that kind of thing. And I brought on some great managers. Now we have a fantastic CEO, and she runs the business. It's great.
And you got out of the way.
Yes, the odd time I throw myself in front of the way, but she's good. She just kicks me out of the way and keeps on trucking. So it's awesome.
Yeah, and maybe you can see yourself in that story, that sometimes a behavior that is really good, like independence, can be a good thing until it pushes away the people that you most need and want in your life.
Absolutely.
So how are you being that maybe isn't working for you, isn't bringing the people that maybe they'll come, but they won't stay?
So being myself can be a winning formula, but also being myself, if it's not working, if it's a blind spot, can be detrimental. And that's why you need a good person. I did some surveys. You remember that?
Yes.
Send out surveys to employees, to people that knew me, and ask about blind spots and what, how do I handle this and that? And boy, you got to have, I was going to say tough skin. You got to be open to improving, to put one of those surveys out to like 20 people, asking them, what's the truth about how you be?
Yeah, I did it with 50. It was courageous, it was brave, and it was wild. So you attract people by the qualities you display, and you keep them by the qualities you possess.
And we're honored to be your advocates on the journey of real estate and of life exponential.
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward together with the Decker